Preparedness doesn't start with fear, it starts with friction. Friction is the stuff that makes a normal day annoying. A short blackout, a surprise expense, a storm that knocks out power for half a day, a supply hiccup where the store looks weird for a week, a health issue that throws your routine off. Friction is the stuff that makes a normal day annoying. A short blackout, a surprise expense, a storm that knocks out power for half a day, a supply hiccup where the store looks weird for a week, a health issue that throws your routine off. If you can handle those situations calmly, you're already ahead of most people and you didn't need a bunker to get there. So this is a realistic start today plan that focuses on one simple target, the first 72 hours. 3 days is achievable. 3 days buys you time, and time buys you better decisions. Here's the mindset shift that actually works. Stop thinking about the end of the world. Start thinking about your daily needs when normal systems stop cooperating. Water, food, light, information, basic medical needs, and a way to keep your phone alive. Water, food, light, information, basic medical needs, and a way to keep your phone alive. That's the core of the plan. And the order of these things really matters. Most people start with food, but the real starting point is water. If the tap stops flowing, or if water pressure drops, or if local water becomes questionable, you don't want to be scrambling. Water covers drinking, basic hygiene, and minimal cooking. A practical baseline is 1 gallon per person per day. If you can manage more, great, but don't let perfect stop you from starting. The point is building a buffer. And just as important as storing water is rotating it. Your stored water should be part of your routine, not a forgotten trophy. Use it and replace it on a schedule that works for you. Next comes food, but not survival food. Food that you actually eat is the right food. If you store things your household hates, you'll avoid using them, and then you'll be stuck with a pantry full of regret. The goal is familiar meals with simple ingredients. Shelf-stable basics are a smart start. Canned vegetables, canned fruit, canned beans, canned protein like tuna or salmon, soups, pasta, rice, oats, nut butters, and shelf-stable snacks that your family already likes. You don't need to buy everything in one giant shopping trip. A better method is adding a few extra items each time you shop. 2, 3, 5 extra cans or staples per visit adds up fast without wrecking your budget. That method also protects you from panic buying. You're not reacting. You're building gradually. Now let's talk about cooking, because food storage isn't just food storage if you can't safely prepare it. A simple alternative cooking option can be useful during outages, but safety is non-negotiable. Follow manufacturer directions and prioritize outdoor use for any flame-based cooking gear. Carbon monoxide and fire risk are real, and a quick meal isn't worth an emergency inside your home. If you want to keep it extremely simple at first, focus on foods that don't require cooking. Then add the cooking capability as a second step when you're ready and when you've tested it safely. After water and food, the next beginner win is lighting. Lighting sounds small until you lose it. Most accidents during outages happen because people can't see. Trips, falls, broken glass, burns, and bad decisions made in the dark. You want 3 types of light. A room light, like a lantern. A hands-free light, like a headlamp. And a simple backup, like a flashlight. Headlamps are underrated because they free your hands, especially when you're moving around the home or helping kids. If you have a family, having 1 headlamp per person is a solid goal over time. Then there are batteries. The simplest approach is keeping fresh batteries stored and rotating them the same way you rotate food. If you're using rechargeable lights, keep them charged and test them occasionally so you're not surprised later. Now let's talk about information. When things go sideways, people instantly reach for the phone. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Networks overload, power fails, and suddenly the internet becomes unreliable. A basic weather and emergency radio gives you a second lane of information, especially for local alerts. If you can, having a radio that can run on batteries and has a backup method like hand crank or solar can add resilience. But the bigger point is simple. You want a way to hear what's happening without depending on perfect cell service. Next, first aid and everyday medical needs. This isn't about turning your home into a clinic. It's about not being caught without basics for common injuries and sickness. A simple first aid kit plus over-the-counter items your household actually uses can cover a lot. Bandages, antiseptic, basic pain relief, cold meds, stomach support, whatever is normal for your family. If anyone in your home relies on prescription medication, it's worth planning ahead in a lawful way. That might mean asking your clinician or pharmacist about emergency refill options, travel supplies, or what your insurance allows so you're not stuck during a disruption. Keep it practical and compliant. Now let's talk about phone power. During outages, your phone becomes your flashlight, your communication tool, your map, and your news feed. That drains battery fast. A battery bank is one of the highest value beginner items because it extends your ability to communicate and get updates without needing a wall outlet. The best approach is to keep a battery bank charged and pair it with a dedicated cable so you're not hunting for cords when things are stressful. Now here's the part that separates stuff from readiness. It all comes down to organization. Your home is one of your first survival tools, but only if people can find what they need quickly. It's not enough to own supplies. You need them accessible. So decide where things live. Where is the first aid kit? Where exactly are the flashlights? Where is the backup light for the bathroom? And where is the emergency radio? Where do we keep the water? Where is the battery bank? If multiple people live in your home, everyone should know these locations. In a blackout, the person who can't find the flashlight becomes the person using a phone screen and dropping it in the dark. One simple habit that helps is one light per room. That doesn't mean expensive gear. It means you don't want to be in a room and realize your only light source is across the house. Now, the other half of preparedness is the part most people skip. It all starts with the plan. A 72-hour kit without a plan is just storage. A plan doesn't have to be fancy, it has to be clear. Here are the questions your plan should answer. If power goes out, what do we do first? If we need to leave, where do we meet? Who checks on kids, pets, or anyone dependent? How do we communicate if phones are spotty? What's our stay put default and what would change that? You don't need to overthink it. You need the basics written down. Because when stress hits, your brain turns simple decisions into chaos. Writing it down turns chaos into steps. Now let's make this actionable. If you want a clean 72-hour starting point, here's the goal. Water first. Enough for everyone for 3 days using the 1-gallon baseline. More if you can. Food second. 3 days of meals that are familiar and easy. Light third, a safe room light plus hands-free options. Information fourth, a basic emergency radio option. Medical fifth, first aid and the everyday over-the-counter basics you already use. Power sixth, a charged battery bank for your phone. And you build it at the pace your budget allows. If your budget is $25 a month, that's fine. That still moves the needle. Preparedness isn't about buying everything at once. It's about consistently reducing your vulnerabilities. One more thing that matters long-term is skills. Gear helps. Skills multiply gear. So along with buying a few items each month, pick one simple skill to practice. Basic first aid familiarity. Cooking a meal using your backup method safely. Knowing how to shut off water in your home if a pipe bursts. Knowing where fire extinguishers are. Knowing how to use the radio. Knowing your local evacuation routes. So along with buying a few items each month, pick one simple skill to practice. Basic first aid familiarity. Cooking a meal using your backup method safely. Knowing how to shut off water in your home if a pipe bursts. Knowing where fire extinguishers are. Knowing how to use the radio. Knowing your local evacuation routes. So along with buying a few items each month, pick one simple skill to practice. Basic first aid familiarity. Cooking a meal using your backup method safely. Knowing how to shut off water in your home if a pipe bursts. Knowing where fire extinguishers are. Knowing how to use the radio. Knowing your local evacuation routes. Skills keep you from being helpless when the script changes. And that's the real point. Prepping isn't stuff, it's stability. It's waking up after a storm and not panicking. It's handling a blackout like it's annoying, not terrifying. It's being able to help your family move through disruption without everything turning into a crisis. So here's the simplest finish. Build with small, steady steps. Practice the basics once while everything is calm. That's how you become more prepared than you were yesterday, without turning your life into a constant emergency.